All right, guys, this one's here about the illegal warrant they utilized to get into my business, Texas Strong Fitness, Aransas Pass, Texas. Basically, they used code enforcement, forced him to do something that he didn't want to do, forced him to write violations onto a warrant that he was not certified to do. Watch, listen, learn. Make sure y'all get to the end of this, pay attention, and please subscribe to help this get out. I need more eyes on this and more help. It is hard fighting an entire city over their corruption by myself. Codebook section 573 says that you have to verbally or written give me notice that there is a code violation. Correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. Corey came to my property on June 16th for a knockbox and a pallet. I got no verbal and no written. 13 days later, you showed up with a warrant. Means you disregarded your whole section of code enforcement.
So during the meeting, they told me to go drive your area, looking for code violations, anything that I could find.
On my property?
On yours.
Okay. How did you feel about that? That to me seems wrong. How do you feel about that?
Targeting.
Okay.
So when I actually went down the alleyway, there are other properties in violation that I seen.
Okay.
When I went down the alley, I did notice the pallets behind your building. I drove around the front in the street, seeing that you didn't have a Knox box, which was mentioned in the meeting. Look for Knox box violations if there's one or not.
Pre-meeting in order to come out?
Right.
Okay.
The prosecutor chose, instead of modifying the violation to attach it to the right code, she chose to throw the ticket out.
Okay, so that initial violation is thrown out. So the thrown out initial violation
Yes.
means you can come on the property anytime you want because there was an initial violation before, even though there was no violation because it was on the wrong code.
The initial violation, she chose to throw it out instead of charging.
Throwing it out means no violation.
Correct.
We still have 2 years to refile that charge. 2 years.
Good. When you refile it, come into my building.
The inspection was complete once she threw that last code violation out. Jason came on 3/25. He came back on April 7th. That was the last inspection. And then in June, she closed out the inspection. It was complete. There was no other inspection. Then y'all came back to my building to redo the inspection, but Chief Blanchard called it a continuation of the inspection, even though I have the documents proving that it was closed out. Meaning he is not certified in fire, electrical, nor building codes. How did he serve me that warrant? The warrant specifically says fire code and electrical codes.
So we have discussed that already. He's the affiant on that affidavit.
Yeah, he signed it.
And the judge approved the warrant. The warrant is valid. If you can get the warrant thrown out of court, invalidate that warrant, then we lose the whole.
Can you tell me about the warrant before? I kind of skipped a little bit. So the warrant itself, you told me there was a rubbish code and a Knox box code. Mm-hmm. And then you prepped it. What happened when you prepped it?
So, like I was saying earlier, they asked me, Chief Blanchard, the city attorney Roxanne, and Chief Kelly requested me to send them the draft warrant for them to review. I sent it to them. Chief Kelly responded back, looks great. Chief Blanchard responded back, hey, you should identify, showing that you're stating that you have experience inspecting fire and electrical code violations. I'm not licensed. I'm not licensed in the fire code. I'm not licensed in electrical.
Okay.
I told Chief Blanchard that, and he said the fire code, electrical code has been adopted by city ordinances. You enforce city codes, so you have the right to enforce that. I tried explaining to Chief Blanchard, I may have the authority, but I'm not licensed.
It's a legal document. It is a warrant, and y'all swore under oath that it was accurate.
I understand that,
but it's not accurate.
I have detectives that write search warrants, arrest warrants, and affidavits all the time. All the time. That's their business. And the affidavit that was used to get into your place, I don't have a problem with it because I use somebody who has the training and the experience and the assignment to investigate code enforcement.
Who?
Corey.
Corey's not certified for building code or fire code.
He is certified for code enforcement.
Not fire code. Knox box is a fire code.
Right. So we got the warrant drafted up, had a meeting, and then we heard by the chiefs that they were supposed to have some kind of council meeting. They were going to talk to, the council wanted to meet about before we raided your gym in the following council meeting. So we had to hold off.
So there was a council meeting the day before this.
Yes.
So the day before my raid, there was an executive session.
Right.
And they talked about raiding my gym.
That's what I was told. I wasn't there.
By the
but-
chiefs.
By
The chiefs told you this.
Yeah. Chiefs higher ups.
Interesting. So
I don't know what you talked to or who you talked to, but I can tell you that they're not allowed to discuss closed session items. So they can deny talking about items on closed session, but it was listed on the agenda.
if you listen to Corey, code enforcement officer at the time, they actually had a roundtable meeting, meaning they had an executive meeting, closed session meeting behind doors about me and about raiding my gym, which was not on the agenda, by the way. The agenda was just about pending litigations, not raiding a local business owner who stands up for their Fourth Amendment rights. The entire council, city officials, police chiefs, fire marshals are all scumbags in Aransas Pass, Texas.
You didn't allow us in to inspect the building, we would have to force our way into the building.
Okay, so
The
then
easiest-
why do you need a key for an emergency, but for a non-emergency, you can force the door in?
Excellent question. I support you on that.
Little data on these knock boxes in town. I was the first establishment in Aransas Pass, Texas to try to force this on. And of course, I said, no, you cannot have a key to my building. I have the right to secure my building. Not going to happen. With that said, Chief Kelly has a business in town, no knock box. Mayor has a building in town, no knock box. I am the only business that they harassed over this simply because they wanted to get inside my building.
He's in them. I don't. He does. And I only believe in them when it comes to certain businesses that should have a Knox box, like a big box store that has a fire suppression system. So, but going forward, I can tell you these violations, be it at your location or any other business in town, no matter what the court decides, these are still violations.
This dumbass here really just said, even if the court decides they're not violations, they're still violations. How you doing, Judge Dredd? On the information, there was a warrant sent out to my property. Do you mind sharing me the emails talking to me about the warrant and what happened if we're going to be 100% transparent?
What warrant?
The warrant to my building. Y'all talked
Okay.
via email back and forth about the warrant, what was going to go on the warrant, what we're going to do about the warrant, how are you going to initiate the warrant? Is that transparency? Are you going to give that to me, or do I have to go to Freedom of Information Act to get that?
I don't know what you're talking about. What communication did we have?
Y'all talked about the warrant. Had to happen. Y'all had to talk about the warrant.
Yes, we had
Further warrant.
meetings in Gary's office
there's
with
no
the
email?
prosecutor. I don't know if there are or not. I could look. You could put in the request. We'll do the research.
Oh, I will put in the request. I find it hard to believe that you don't know. I would say y'all would have to talk to each other about what the warrant
We
was.
did, though. We had several meetings in the city manager's office and with the prosecutor to have these discussions.
Okay, so was there a rough draft of a warrant?
There was when Corey wrote the warrant up, the warrant got sent for approval. Yes, of course.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
Corey sent
The
who?
prosecutor approves the
So Corey made the
affidavit.
warrant via email, sent it to the prosecutor,
The prosecutor approves the warrant.
not to
correct.
you.
Yes, we all had insight and input onto the warrant,
That's
but the
what I want.
prosecutor ultimately approves it.
That's what I want.
Okay, well then you can put in a request and we'll research it.
Okay. Chief Blanchard, you told me you were going to give me the paperwork on the warrants, meaning the emails involved with you and your peers, particularly Chief Kelly and Roxanne, Chief Borrego, when you were going to raid my building, that warrant. You told me on video you'd give them to me. You never did, so I requested them. You had Roxanne block me through the AG, telling me I couldn't have them. Corey told us why you wouldn't give them to me. Why don't you tell the world why you wouldn't give them to me? Good day to you, sir.